I'm James Turk. I'm a director of the GoldMoney Foundation, and I'm here at Europe's largest precious metals mining conference, the Edelmetallmesse in Munich, Germany, and I'm pleased to speak with Johann Saiger, writer of the Midas Investment newsletter. Johann, it's a pleasure to see you today.
It's always a big pleasure for me meeting you.
Thank you. Let's start by talking about gold and silver. What are your views here? Are you bullish, bearish, neutral?
I'm one of the greatest gold bulls since 10 years. So far I've become right, and I'm sure I will become right for the next years also. My short-term outlook is bullish, but I'm a little bit afraid of some complications because of the situation in euro currency.
With the sovereign debt crisis that's going on.
The debt crisis, because I do believe the debts will never be able to pay back.
There's just too much debt.
Too much debt. It's not even possible to pay all interest rates or to keep this debt alive.
Yes.
So there will be only two solutions or two things. I see we are walking on a very, how can I explain it?
Top of a fence?
Yes.
Could fall either way?
Either way. We can fall in deflation and we can fall in hyperinflation. But I do not believe when we fall in direction deflation that there will be a deflation. I only believe there will be a deflationary shock. And in this shock, the central banks will open the monetary, will print much money. So, but they need to start printing so much money when we begin a deflationary shock.
Okay, so Lehman Brothers, for example, when it collapsed in 2008, that's what you mean by an example of a deflationary shock.
Right.
And then they started quantitative easing and money printing.
Yes, of course.
And that ultimately is leading to more inflation.
Of course, yes. So I think we will have some turbulences on markets. Stock markets can become turbulences, commodity prices, and even precious metals prices, but only for a short time.
Yeah.
And when we come back, money printing will start, and we will see the biggest rise in gold and silver we have ever seen.
So going back to my original question, I know you've been very bullish and I know you've been very accurate, but I'm asking you this because a lot of people today say gold is in a bubble. Obviously you don't agree.
Oh no, it's not a bubble. When gold was $850 in January 1980, yes, now it is double price.
Yes.
But according to inflation, in the meantime, gold should be 2,200 or 2,300. Next thing, when gold was in January 1980 at $850, Dow Jones was at 850. So they met at a ratio of 1 to 1. In the meantime, gold is 1,700 and Dow Jones is 12,000. Who is talking about bubble in Dow Jones?
Yeah.
It's much more realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to say when people ask me that question about is gold in a bubble, and I go back to the 1980s as well, and I relate it to the Dow Jones Industrial Average,
also,
which had been under 1,000, for 20 years, since the 1960s. And when it went to 1,200, 1,300, 1,500, the Dow Jones, people were saying that it's in a bubble and it's going to crash, and it just kept going because they were looking not at the value of the Dow Jones Industrials, but they were looking at the price.
Of course.
And that's the same thing that's happening today. People are looking at the price of gold, they're not looking at the value. And they ignore the fact that gold has been debased by governments so much over the past several years that the value for gold is still very good value, even though the price is rising. So that's something you agree with, obviously.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah.
It's so funny, I met many people. I started to recommend buying gold exactly 2001, in February, March. I told in the next days or weeks, gold we see bottom, and then the century will be the century of gold and silver.
Oh, that's music to my ears, because I agree.
And I became right, yes, and it was very, at this time it was very hard. Nobody wanted to believe me.
Yeah.
I was talking at an Iliad wave seminar, and they told me, no, it's not 250 where gold will start to rise. It first must see $170. I think they're still waiting for the $170 before the gold bull market can start. So in the first time, people did not believe that gold can rise, because the most famous newspaper in Germany, the Bild Zeitung, it's a newspaper for very low. Okay, you know what I mean, yes?
Yeah.
They were writing when gold was $250. They were writing, gold has now fallen from $850 to $250, and it will fall till $42 again, because this was the last official gold price. And at this price, the central banks will buy back gold. So if you want to have $250, you must sell now. This Bild Zeitung was writing just a few days before low of gold. So they made many people to sell their gold exactly at
the bottom.
The bottom.
You know,
I also was very angry. In Austria, because the Austrian Central Bank sold gold on April 2nd of 2001, when gold was $253 or so, $254, almost the bottom.
Yeah.
They sold gold 30 tons. I was writing to our of the Austrian Central Bank, why could you do this? And he was writing, but the dollar was not so bad at this time, and certain other central banks also selling gold at this price. So I wonder why the central banks, in the last stadium of this great bear market, were selling all gold at $250, and they were announcing gold very loudly. They were saying, we have to sell many tons at 250. I wonder how intelligent the best bankers in the world are, because they did not sell any gold at 850, but they wanted all to get out at 250.
Well, they were reading the tabloid newspapers instead
Maybe
of...
they were reading the Bild Zeitung. I was telling to some friends, these are the best paid bankers in the world, the most intelligent bankers in the world. They sell gold at 250. After 20-year bear market, when people were so afraid